Which is more fundamental? Which is more true? Your name or the gibberish? That is the empty man.
You want burgers, hot dogs, some chicken, and ribs. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
Did the pee pee poo poo man come see you this weekend?
You won't know what to do when you encounter the pee pee poo poo man. Titles with the name man in them or the something man can fucking quit.
I know,
already,
right?
man. I am just done with it. I'm done. Today's movie is the fucking exception.
Did you see the email that I sent you with my notes? What the title of it was?
Yeah, not the pee pee poo poo man.
Yes.
It's just, we'll get into it. We'll get into today's feature in a little bit. But like, I swear, like all those movies that I thought that today's feature are just pure garbage, man. Every time they do that, I don't know what it is. It's always that, they did it with Slender Man and stuff like that.
I don't know.
And what I'm making fun of is the Bye Bye Man, because it's such a shitty title. It's such a lame ass title that I was like, when I saw that, I was like, you might as well just call it the Pee Pee Poo Poo Man and just get it the fuck over with. That sounds so bad. And it was very bad. It is a bad movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not scary at all. Poor Doug Jones. They got him to be the Bye Bye Man. I'm like, Jesus. Somebody get Doug Jones something else to do, please.
I don't know who that is.
Guillermo del Toro, get on that.
Okay.
Anyway, Brittany's like, who the fuck? You know who Doug Jones is. He's in
No, I don't.
Yeah, he was Billy Bones in Hocus Pocus.
Okay.
Yeah, you kind of know.
Yeah.
You kind of know. You've
Yeah.
seen movies with him in it,
Yeah.
whether you know it or not. But anyway, this is not the Doug Jones hour. Welcome. Welcome to Night at the Horror File, a horror movie and genre film podcast where we take a horror movie and genre film and show it to my beautiful wife, Brittany, who then gives us her input. Sometimes she enjoys these things and sometimes she doesn't. And you know what? It's both valid. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. And for the month of February, we've been doing, for the past 2 months, we've been doing Quentin Tarantino-centric movies.
Right.
We started in December where we did Tarantino Christmas, and then we went on and did movies that inspired Tarantino in January. And so we took a 2-month break from horror as a genre.
It was too long.
It was too long. And so I thought what I would do for the month of February and our return to horror, I know we had a few choices to make. Like, what do we do?
Right.
What do we hit 80s horror? Do we do some 70s stuff that isn't well talked about? Where do we start? Do we do Solo finally?
No, we don't.
120 Days of Sodom. Do we subject Brittany to that? Even though it's technically not a horror film, but well, okay, never mind. When someone's yelling mancha at you and making you eat shit, I think that counts as a horror film. But nonetheless, what to return to? Well, so for me, I had seen a few movies last year in the year 2021 that I absolutely loved. I felt they really stuck out amongst the rest of the year 2021. Now, these flicks made my list this month, not because they're the best movies ever. Movies are subjective, so none are really deserving of that label. To me, these films just felt like cult classics in the making, man. I felt like a lot of these movies, as much as they are loved, even today's film, it does have a following finally.
Right.
As much as they are loved, I feel like they didn't get as much attention by mainstream as I thought a lot of other movies got. Like Halloween Kills.
Right.
Halloween Kills took over last year. Everybody was talking about that, whether you hated it or not. But I felt these movies really deserve some praise. I mean, not saying they're not getting it, Don't get me wrong. But I just think they're movies that I could see 20 years from now being called classics.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the boutique labels 20 years from now are going to be hawking these at you for like $40 a pop, making you pay for expensive slip covers. But
That's how you judge movies these days. Huh?
Kinda, man. I'll tell you, like there are some stinkers that they are putting out for $40 a pop on these boutique labels that I'm like, wow, you guys. I have a DVD of that. I bought at the dollar bin at Walmart.
20 fucking years ago.
I would not pay $40 for the cardboard that they've made look fancy to wrap around it, and the special features that nobody cares about.
What are you talking about? You know you would.
I would and I have, but it doesn't mean I'm any less stupid.
It's true.
See, you got to admit your faults, dear listener. But anyway, now, like I said, these few movies I picked for this month, it's not saying that these are the best of 2021, even though we have been talking about that as this month being. But I was like, no, I can't really say that. You know,
Okay.
But these movies are there are 4 movies this month that I just think were, they really got me, you know?
Right.
Whether they scared me more than the others or whether I just thought there's something different here, you know, that makes them stick out.
Mhm.
And different being the key word with today's feature, because what did we watch this week?
The Empty Man.
That's right. The Empty Man, which the title. The title already, you know, when you hear something called, what are you watching? Oh, I'm watching The Empty Man. You know, your mind goes to, oh God, that must be a terrible movie. You know, because like everything that has been coming out with man at the end of the fucking title has been shit.
Yeah.
You know, the Bye Bye Man, the Slender Man, you know, all those movies were just rotten garbage. And so today's feature, I think, wrongly gets put in that category, whereas I don't think it deserves to be there. It's not even that kind of movie.
Right.
You know, when you hear The Empty Man, you think there's just a supernatural monster who's too skinny, who's coming after
Too
people.
skinny,
That's
right.
spooky, skinny guys. Ooh. No. The
Ooh, skinny guys.
Ooh, skinny dudes. Ooh, they can shop off the rack at the mall. Ooh. But no, this movie does not deserve any of that. So, you know, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen The Empty Man yet, get that out of your mind. It is not that kind of movie. I would say The Empty Man's closer to folk horror than it is anything.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'll start this out by saying, for this month, it's cool. You can love a film or you can hate a movie. That's fine. You know how our podcast works. We accept both ends of the spectrum, you know?
Right.
So some of these that I picked this month, you might hate and you might love. Speaking of hate, though, today's film, The Empty Man, it seems to be kind of polarizing to me. You know, when I announced that this was the first movie of the month that we were doing on Twitter, I got just as much hate for it as I did love.
Nice.
Yeah. And of course you got the people in the middle who are like, I have not watched that. like probably because of the title. I mean, let's be real. Like that title just.
Oh, we'll talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the trailer too, right?
Oh my God. You bet we're talking about
I just didn't
the
know if we were
trailer.
going to talk about it yet.
We will talk about that. The marketing on this thing was fucking bullshit. But you know, it's getting the attention it deserves now, but it had a long journey to get there. You know, director and writer of today's feature, David Pryor, in fact, went through literal horrors to get there, or at least the bureaucracy horrors. I can't pronounce that word.
Now you got me.
Bureaucracy. Asshole
Whoa.
Studios. Fuckhead Studios is what we're talking about. Based on the graphic novel of the same name by Boom Studios, the film was first announced in 2016. Now that graphic novel has it feels like a sequel to this. Like, I will say, because
Okay.
the graphic novel takes place in a post-apocalyptic kind of world where the empty man is like a virus that is spread through and stuff. It is actually a very interesting read if you guys have never heard of this or you haven't seen it or, you know, read it or anything. It is actually a very interesting graphic novel that you should check out if today's feature kind of piques your interest. But David Pryor kind of took that base story and kind of stripped it down to its, you know, just its basic form.
Yeah.
Which is the empty man entity. I would call it an entity. You know?
I would agree. Yeah.
It's not even a boogeyman, as you think by reading that title. It's not even that. But anyway, now 20th Century Fox had obtained the rights to the feature film and brought David Pryor on board to write and direct. Now, Pryor got his start directing DVD special features and making of docs. You know, the stuff you see on special features, especially the Zodiac. David Fincher's Zodiac.
Yeah.
That movie, by the way, if you guys have not seen David Fincher's Zodiac, that is a fucking phenomenal film. It feels like it doesn't get as much attention, or it feels like to me, probably because I just don't talk to anybody. But it is an amazing film. And David Fincher himself is a great director. So, you know, with Pryor working with Fincher on special features and stuff, and he even worked on The Social Network, which is another David Fincher film. He worked on special features on that. So you could definitely tell in today's feature that he pulls from David Fincher, as well as a bunch of other movies I'll point out as we go. I'd say most of what influenced the feel of today's film is probably drawn from that work he did, but also there is a lot of little references to other works of horror.
Yeah.
Specifically, like one main one that I really felt it. The Exorcist.
Really?
I really feel like he draws from The Exorcist in this movie. I might be wrong, but that's kind of how I feel. We'll talk. We have a lot to talk about today, me and Brittany. In fact, like, I don't know because here's the kicker of this thing. This movie was shot in 2017 and wasn't released until 2020.
What?
Yeah, and with it, you know, came that terrible marketing. The theatrical trailer that depicts this thing as a slasher.
A teen
slasher. Like, you don't even see the main character who you stick with for the entire movie until fucking like you just get little bits and pieces of him in the trailer. You don't even see him.
Right.
They just keep showing just the few scenes of the teenagers. Which when you watch this movie it's just a little part of it.
Right.
Barely has anything to do with it. Yeah. So you could tell by that the studio had like no faith in this. They did not. And how do you even fucking market this movie?
Not that way.
Yeah, this is a weird movie.
Yeah, it's very weird.
It's very weird, but I love it. I think I love it for that weirdness because it feels like a bunch of different horror movies in one.
I will have to agree with that. And I do think it's more like a couple movies, and I'll get into that later.
Yeah. But
you know, I save my feelings for later always.
But back on the journey it had to get to the fucking screen, you know, the executive who was integral at green lighting this thing, he left the studio, you know, which because of the Disney acquisition of 20th Century Fox. So this movie,
right.
Yeah, this movie is in fact the last movie to come out with that 20th Century Fox logo at the front of it.
Wow.
Yeah, so this movie kind of suffered because of the mouse.
Fuck you, mouse.
Aha, what the fuck is an empty man? Fuck that for. That's how it feels, man. We have more to talk about the feeling of this movie between the two of us than we do the actual making of, because there is no physical copy I can locate for this.
Right.
There has not been a plan to release a DVD or a Blu-ray, an official DVD or a Blu-ray. Weird thing is, though, you can rent this from Redbox.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, you can rent the physical disc from Redbox, which has nothing on it. It's just a rental disc. So it has no special features. The only things I could find were interviews with David Pryor. I would love to sit down with Pryor and talk about this movie with him. Like, because you can tell, like, just by watching this movie, he set out to make something completely different.
Right.
You know, which you got to applaud that, you know. But because of the mouse deal, you know, this thing fell into the seams of a corporate merger and the interest was just fucking dead. You know, nobody up top cared about this movie. They were very much on their own, you know, making this thing.
That's sad.
Like I said, to this day, there is no official Blu-ray or anything like that. So with that in mind, just the pure horse shit that this movie had to deal with, because shot in 2017, released in 2020.
Ugh.
And nobody saw it until 2021.
Right.
So with that in mind, let's dive into what I think is a true modern hidden gem, The Empty Man.
So 4 friends, Greg, Fiona, Ruthie, and Paul,
You know,
fillet and skin Leigh to death.
no, you know, a weird thing about this movie is there's not a lot of gore.
Right.
There's not a lot of gore, but what's really weird is you feel it. Like, there are gory scenes, don't get me wrong, but like it has like a kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe going on.
Yeah, but you don't really need the gore.
No, that's
It wasn't necessary.
and that's what I mean. Like, you know, like when you, after you watch this movie, you think back and you're like, wow, that was a really gory movie, and you're like, wait a second, there was only like a few scenes of that, but it just feels gory. I don't know why. But anyway, it wasn't just the mouse that killed today's marketing and reception of this movie. The Empty Man, after the merger, was dumped into theaters mid-pandemic in October 2020. You know, the height of the fucking pandemic. I mean, well, it reached a height and it never ended.
Were theaters even open then?
Not a lot. I think this thing only came out in 2,000 theaters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Theaters weren't even open, really.
Yeah, because I believe in October was when they started shutting down.
Yeah.
Like, so this thing was just fucking dumped in the pandemic. You can tell they were like, I don't give a fuck about this movie. We already spent the money. Just fucking shove it somewhere.
And that's really sad because if it was released in 2017 when it was filmed, it would have done great.
Oh, this would have been fucking, I think if this thing was released and the studio actually gave a damn about it, I think everybody would be talking about this more than they are.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a more prestigious horror movie.
Yes, I do.
Than what it is. Mm-hmm. Like right now, as it is, it feels like it feels like it's an indie film.
Yes. Yes. There you go.
But it is an expensive Hollywood production. This was a $16 million production.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it feels like we're talking about an indie movie that like just got shuffled around and stuff. But it just shows you that like they were like, well, fuck it. I don't care about that. We already spent the money. We got Marvel and all this other shit to worry about. Send this thing out.
Right.
You know?
Just go.
Just fucking throw it out there somewhere.
But no DVDs. That's weird.
It pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because I want to own the Blu-ray of this.
Yes.
Because I feel like there could be so many special features to this movie.
And you can watch it on HBO Max. Oh, and I was going to say and Hulu, but only Hulu because we have HBO on Hulu.
I think it's HBO Max for right now.
Well, it's on Hulu, but
yeah.
Wait, but that's what I'm saying is we pay for Hulu. We pay for Hulu through. No, we pay for HBO through Hulu.
Yeah, it may be.
So we have both.
Yeah, and it may be a thing where it's on both. I'm not sure. Like you said, we pay for HBO through Hulu, so I just couldn't tell you. But I know if you guys want to seek this thing out without having to buy it on Vudu, because you can buy it for $9.99 on Vudu streaming there. But if you don't want to buy it, you don't want to spend the money, and you already have HBO Max or Hulu, you can go watch it there.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to give them our password and shit. And I was
no, madam. They can pay for their own. They can pay for their own subscription. I think we have 1,000 listeners. Fucking 1,000 people log into our HBO all at once.
I don't know if that'll work.
I'm pretty sure HBO will get really mad at us, but
Probably.
I will tell you, out of all the, I know we're going off tangent here. We'll get to the movie in a second, but out of all the movies, man, HBO is killing it.
Out of all the streaming services,
out of all the streaming services, HBO is really killing it, man. I'm enjoying myself with that.
I know you've been saying that for a couple months now. You're like, I really like this HBO Max thing.
Yeah, it's not bad. They do need to fix their streaming because sometimes I don't know if it's because our internet or something sucks, but like it just feels like wait, I don't know. It feels like it doesn't work very well sometimes.
So 4 friends, Greg, Fiona, Ruthie, and Paul, go hiking in Ura Valley, Bhutan in 1995. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Bhutan.
Bhutan.
Or
Okay.
Bhutan. I think it's Bhutan.
Whatever. They're in this foreign country. So they have to go across this really rickety bridge, and I would totally shit myself if I had to. I would not. No, I'm turning back. I don't care how many. I don't give a fuck.
Man, I've never been on a rickety bridge like this. Like, okay, so like there's a huge motif about bridges in this, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the thing that the empty man has.
Yeah.
But like, I swear to God, like bridges are fucking scary.
Yeah.
Like, has anyone else frightened by fucking bridges?
I think a lot of people.
Like, which David Pryor has said, you know, he got the idea about the bridge making these scary fucking bridges because every bridge in this fucking movie is spooky.
Oh, yeah.
And he got the idea because him and his son were walking across the bridge and his son refused to go any further because it just got spooky. You know?
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it and I ain't fucking doing it. No.
Which when you look at our lore and stuff in our society, you know, bridges are definitely a source of that. Like Crybaby Bridge. Yeah, I've said that like every state has a fucking Crybaby Bridge.
Right. Every town.
And the story's always fucking different. But like it always, there's always like a connotation with a bridge.
Yeah. It's fucking scary as shit.
It's freaky.
I don't like bridges.
Plus, maybe there's symbolism, you know, bridging a gap, you know, like maybe that and stuff could also factor into because this movie gets real metaphysical.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's another thing that might have been a turnoff to some people who didn't like this.
So Paul hears something and he goes to check it out and he ends up falling into a hole, into a cave. Well, Greg goes down to rescue him and there's this huge like skeleton thing. And Paul is just sitting there in a meditation stance, sitting.
Yeah, the lotus.
Yeah, there
position.
you go.
Yeah.
And he's staring at this thing and not answering Greg at all.
Which even the lotus position in this movie has a symbolism, you know, like acceptance. I think that's what the lotus position is used in like yoga and shit. Like like accepting something, you know, accepting peace usually, but this is something completely different.
Peace.
This fucking creature though, like this fucking skeletal like statue type thing.
It's fucking huge.
Yeah, and it's fucking scary. During this scene especially, like you feel like this thing's gonna come out at you.
Yes.
It never fucking does.
No.
You know, the end kind of, but that's more of a dream state. But like it never fucking comes at you, but it doesn't have to be fucking unnerving.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I would say about this movie in a whole. It's not I don't find it particularly super terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just very unnerving.
Very.
You know.
Ooh. Anyway. So Greg pulls him out of the hole and carries him to a little cabin that they find.
Right.
Well, Greg checks him out and Paul has these scars on his wrist. So we know that he has some sort of mental health issues.
And a lot of this is left ambiguous. Like, did you feel like, did you get the feeling that like the empty man, people who have been through mental trauma and stuff are more susceptible to him?
She literally says that at the end of the movie.
Oh.
Literally
we're
says
not
that.
there yet, but
I'm sorry.
but like, but I like that that position this movie goes into. I like that turn it takes because thank God they didn't make the movie that the title suggests. You know, like this is not a movie where there's just some dude in a cloak running around spooking people.
Right.
Thank God. It is so like, and so like the empty man is more of a force, you know, if anything, you know, it's not a tangible creature really. Like, even though you do see it at the end, like I said, but that's more of a dream state.
Right. But it's more of a feeling, a calling. I don't know.
Yeah.
An entity, like you said.
An entity. Yeah. I find the whole approach to the villain or the force in this movie so fucking refreshing from what we usually have, which I don't know. The sense of scale in this prologue, first of all, is epic.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
This is not what you're expecting to start your movie out on because, like I said, you watch that fucking trailer. We talked about that trailer.
We did not expect
you're
any
expecting
of this.
a Scream knockoff with some spooky boogeymen running around, some boogermen coming at you, in the dark. Like that's not what you get.
Oh no.
I will say there's not a lot of cheap scares in this movie. There are scares.
Not cheap ones though.
No, just unnerving. Like there's not a lot of pop scares either.
Oh, in this prologue though.
There is, but like not, I don't know.
But
like,
not a whole lot, no.
They're good. They're well used, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like jump scare. It's like you're going around the corner and you're going to get fucking spooked.
But like this starter here, which is something that the studio really wanted him to cut to ribbons. Like they wanted him to cut this down or get rid of it altogether. That was the one thing the studio was coming down on him as because a lot of people have said that the runtime is a little long on this movie. I don't think it is.
Like, I didn't feel that.
No, I don't feel the runtime because we're working off of 2 hours and 20 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
Which is it's a big movie. But at the same time, I did not feel that in the runtime, especially when we get to, the post-prologue scenes.
Right.
When we get to the movie itself here in a little bit. But no, this prologue, it feels like something right out of a William Friedkin movie. William Friedkin did Sorcerer, which is with Roy Schreider and a bunch of other dudes. I can't off the top of my head. I can't think of who was in that movie right now. Fuck. Joe Spinell was in it, but anyway, it's this exotic locale all of a sudden in your movie and stuff that I love, and he films it like that. Even the monks on the truck you see in one of these scenes and stuff. It's just like a freaking movie. It's so cool. And what the other thing, and I mentioned this earlier, that he had to have been pulling from The Exorcist because it feels like this is what The Exorcist kind of felt like when it started. You start in a whole other like exotic locale, which in that movie you started in Iraq. Right. Which is you'll always forget that you start in Iraq in The Exorcist. And I just feel like that's how we're doing here. You take a look at The Exorcist, and in that movie, they're finding the entity. They're finding the statue and stuff out in the exotic locale and stuff on their dig. Right. Whereas here you're in just beautiful mountains, man.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. With the snow and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we need more horror movies in the snow, even though this movie largely only, it takes place like 20 minutes of it is in the snow. Right. Just the scale of this is not what I was expecting. Right. Especially here at the beginning. Right. But even though we do, after 20 minutes of this, which by the way, 20-minute prologue, it is a long chunk of your movie. This is like a mini movie in itself. Even though
I wanted more of this.
Yeah, even though all this relates to everything that's about to happen, it's still, it feels like another scale. But also, even though you do get scaled down a little bit when we get into the actual movie, still it feels like it's bigger than it is. Right. Like the whole entire movie just feels epic, more epic than it actually is.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I like it. It really drew me in. It really did. And it didn't feel like it was long.
No, I did.
Even the prologue didn't feel like it was long.
Because that's one thing. And I've heard I take everybody's complaints about a movie when they tell me what they think, not just, I didn't like that movie, it sucks. No, when they actually tell me what they didn't like about the movie, one of the complaints I got was it felt too long and it would have done better as a series. Right. A streaming series, I guess is what they were hitting at. I don't think so.
I feel like that would have been weird.
I feel like that would have been too bloated. Yeah. Like this, though, I absolutely do not feel that 2 hour, 20-minute runtime. Right.
So the next day, there's a huge snowstorm that comes in. Ruthie looks outside and she sees something who she thinks is a person. So she goes out and she's like, we need help. And this thing ends up chasing her. So she runs inside and locks the door. And the thing is banging on the door, but then all of a sudden it's Greg and Fiona because they went to go look for help or whatever.
Right.
So she ends up yelling at, letting them in. She's yelling at them, and she says that they need to leave. Well, later that night, Paul whispers in Ruthie's ear when she's sleeping.
It was, by the way, that scene though, where he's up over her.
Yeah,
Dear
he's almost
God.
like floating there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's creepy.
It's like I said, unnerving, and that is kind of it is kind of your jump scare right there because it pops to it.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, it's just again not I'm not jumping out of my seat in terror or anything like that, but it's just like I feel as lost as all these people.
Right.
You're just like, what the fuck?
Wait, what is happening? So the next morning, Paul is missing, and he is sitting outside in the snow by the bridge. Well, Greg is pissed at this point, and he wants Paul to fucking stop. He's like, basically telling him that he's doing this for attention, and he wants it to stop. Well, Paul ends up whispering something, and then Ruthie pulls a knife out of her jacket and stabs Greg a bunch of times.
Yeah,
just fucking
you're just in the fucking prologue, and you're just like, what the whoa,
right?
Holy fuck! This whole thing sets up what you're gonna expect from this whole fucking movie. It is a mind fuck after another. You do not expect the things that this movie does.
Yeah,
whether you enjoyed this movie or you just didn't care for it, it wasn't your cup of tea. I feel like the turns it takes is not what you're expecting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did not expect this. So she stabs him a bunch of times and pushes him off the cliff. Then she turns around and slices Fiona's throat and pushes her off the cliff. And then she backs up to the cliff and she just falls off backwards on purpose.
Just offs herself. And which, by the way, again, just the mountains and just watching somebody fall down there, it takes your breath away a little bit.
Yeah.
Just the scenery and stuff, like the feel of this movie. And even though we do go from the mountains with snow and stuff to like rainy kind of, where are we supposed to be at? Chicago?
I don't remember where it said it was.
Oh, I know the whole movie was shot, I think 50 days they shot it in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
And the rest, they shot it in Chicago. But like...
I don't remember where it says that they're at. It doesn't matter, really.
But you go from that to like a rainy kind of city and stuff like that, which is very dreary. This movie is. Yes.
And you know what was really sad is like Paul, he's like possessed or whatever, obviously. And but he's crying. It's really sad.
There's a lot of deep like connection things and stuff like that, which we learn more later on about like why this is happening and stuff like that.
Right. But it's almost like he's conscious there.
Yeah.
For a minute.
That's a good point because that's something the movie doesn't quite answer.
Right.
Are these people who get possessed or taken over or inhabited or whatever you want to call it, are they still very conscious?
Right.
Like, I think James later on, we're about to meet James, everybody. But like later on, I think he kind of answers that in his dream state thing, which it makes you think, are those people lost in this dream kind of state that the empty man puts them in?
Right.
And stuff.
Oh, it was just sad.
Yeah.
So now we are zoomed to 2018. And we meet former detective James Lasombra. He meets with a girl named Amanda. She said that she wanted to see him because she was concerned about how he was doing. She talks about how her dad died right before his wife and kid died.
Yeah.
And she then talks about thoughts and where they begin and shit. Like she starts talking like rambling. To me, it's rambling.
You had a lot of problems with the dialogue in this movie. Yeah.
No, it's not problems with the dialogue.
Problem. Yeah.
It's not a problem with the dialogue. It's not a problem.
It's almost like people are half-ass talking in metaphors.
Yes, and
or not even half-ass. It's like they're talking in metaphors most of the time. Even especially when you get to Stephen Root's character, the cult leader.
Oh yeah,
which by the way, Stephen Root, oh my God, he's never been more scary than he is in this movie, and he's only in it for a little bit.
Yeah,
but like when you get to his character and stuff, he's talking in metaphors and stuff like that. I don't know. It was fine to me. It felt fine to me. But what was your issue with that?
I just don't understand when people talk in metaphors and shit like this. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I understand.
Like, I understand I kind of understand what she's saying.
I think the thing is, like, when you're watching this for your first time, you're lost.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because our main character who we follow, who we stick with for the rest of the film, and now that we're here, he's lost too. He's unraveling this mystery as we go, which, by the way, that brings up another point. I feel like this is also, not a lot of people have pointed this out, this feels like a modern noir movie. Like he's a detective, basically, and he's unraveling the clues and stuff. I mean, where it goes is not exactly where you want it to go, but like it does feel like that. But I feel like when you're first watching this, and the metaphors are hitting you, none of that makes any fucking sense until the very end of the film.
Right.
And then when you think back, so maybe when I was watching it with you, you were just experiencing it for the first time. I had seen it 3 times.
Right.
So that might be why I'm a little.
You're like, I don't understand why you don't understand. And I'm like, okay, I understand what they're saying. Like, okay. I understand words. Like, I get that.
And this is something I was confused when you were saying it, when we were watching it.
Like, I understand.
I thought you meant the whole movie was like that.
No.
Brittany's talking about certain bits of dialogue, like this very end of Amanda's little speech here.
Yeah.
It's little parts that pop up.
Because the thing is, like, why are you talking about this? What is the point in this?
Right.
And we understand the point later on.
Yeah. It all falls together at the end, which I think that makes for a good mystery.
Yeah.
Though, because like, and we're not talking about, which, like I said, like metaphors is how they're talking. It's not like they're talking in a jumbled like mess.
Right.
It's just like the stuff they're relating to James, because he's also like, what?
Right. Because she's talking about thoughts and where they begin and how they end up, and it doesn't make sense till later.
Right. It all just doesn't make sense. It's all, to me, like everything that happens in this movie is all a big puzzle piece.
Yeah.
Every scene in this film, by the way, in every locale that James visits and stuff and where he's at, everything feels like its own contained little area. I don't know if you caught that.
Yes.
Like I said, this thing feels epic in scope. Like you feel it. It feels bigger than it is, but at the same time, everything's contained wherever he ends up.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting to me.
It's a little weird.
Yeah. So to me, all those things act as one big puzzle. All these little bits are just puzzle pieces in there.
It's definitely on the mystery side.
Exactly. And I think this is a different way to approach a mystery.
Yes.
Because he very well, David Pryor could have very well started the movie with just this.
Oh, God.
I think someone else, I think another director probably would have started with this, James waking up,
Right.
And then talking to Amanda and stuff. And then here in a minute, Amanda goes missing. I think that's where it was started. And we got all that prologue stuff as little flashbacks.
Right.
But we don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the prologue, until here in a little while, it feels disconnected from the whole movie.
Yes.
Because you're like, okay, what the fuck was that?
But I think we fill out through the whole movie. What the fuck was that?
Which I think is where that's where David Pryor wants you to be.
Yeah.
He wants you to be sitting there saying, what the fuck is that? Because it does, like I said, that's what lends to a good mystery. I think we're so used to seeing, like how I said, when they do mysteries in these horror movies, they tend to do linear.
Yeah.
And anything that happened before as flashbacks. But we get like 20 minutes of fucking the empty man begins, basically.
Right.
You know, he's got to find a flower and get up to the but no, we get it all at the beginning. So you have an idea of that, but you don't know it yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So you're confused just a little bit.
Yeah, so I understand why the speech sometimes got a little bit weird to you.
Yeah.
So for Amanda, Pryor had the idea that he wanted the character to be like, like the hottest girl on the swim team.
Okay.
You know, type blonde hair, middle America type girl, apple pie. You know, that's what he was thinking about. But when he got Sasha Frolova's audition tape, he completely revamped the character.
Oh, wow.
She flew out to New York and immediately got the part. I think they auditioned her first or something. And he couldn't tell her officially that she had the part, but he took her to the side when she was leaving and was like, okay, you got it. Can't tell you it officially. We got to do all this other stuff, but you got this part. You're going along. Because when he got her audition tape where she's like she was making up fucking lines and stuff to add into the lines that she was reading. And he just loved it. He loved her whole feel and stuff of her character. And it is a strange performance.
In a good way.
In a good way. In
yeah.
a very good way. She has like an Isabella Rossellini kind of feel to her. Like if you remember when we watched Blue Velvet, she feels like that. She feels very cryptic.
Yes. Like, and she's not even saying anything cryptic.
No.
At some points, and you're like, wait.
No, but you immediately get the feeling that something's off about this person.
Yeah.
But you don't know why. You think when she goes missing in a minute, maybe that's why. You know, maybe she was involved in something she shouldn't have been. But,
well, that's true.
I mean, she kind of is, but a little different when we find out at the end. But no, it's a very cryptic performance, and and when you compare Amanda to every other character in this fucking movie, she sticks out like a fucking sore thumb.
Yeah.
For good reasons. But like the people at the beginning of the movie, there's your magazine cover people, like pretty, and that's everybody you want in your slasher film. Right. But when you get characters as we go on, they feel like they're from different things. They all connect to this movie, but they feel different.
Right.
Like when we get to the cult, that feels like you're like, okay, what now? What is this?
Like you're watching a different movie every time.
Yeah.
Like every scene is a different movie.
Yeah. Like this whole movie is like a combination of, well, like you could take The Exorcist. It feels kind of like that. With the entity and the spirit and stuff like that. Hell, even the jogging scenes at the very beginning with James, when he's jogging on that bridge and stuff, it feels like what, Father Maris and stuff, jogging around the track and doing the punching bag and shit like that. It just feels like, because you get a sense, it sets up this character as someone who's kind of tortured.
Right.
And stuff. And it, so it feels like combinations of that, but with this, like another epic kind of, it does not feel like what the fuck the title made you think.
Right. So the next day, Amanda goes missing. Her mom, Nora, goes to talk to James, and they end up calling the police. When the police get there, we see that in blood on the mirror, it says, "The empty man made me do it." The detective talks to Nora, and he thinks she's just a runaway, but says that they will look into it more. Then they pull James outside and tell him that they think Amanda is just doing this to hurt Nora because she's a teenager.
Right.
And James goes back in and talks to Nora, and he wants a list of Amanda's friends because, like I said, he's a retired detective.
Yeah.
And retired, I don't think he's retired, but a former detective.
Which, when we find out who he really is at the end of the film, it does a lot of other things make more sense.
Yeah.
Like these cops and stuff not knowing him. Like they don't act like they know James.
Only one of them was like, "I heard about you."
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but like,
but have you?
Have you?
Yeah,
Right.
It's yeah.
So James is going to help her try to find Amanda, even though he's not doing this for work. He's doing this to help a friend.
Right.
So James goes to talk to Amanda's friend, Devara. He asks her about the empty man, and she says that this is a man that went to a bridge after dark and got a bottle. And if you blew into it, you thought about him and something would happen to you. That's all she says. Like, something would happen to you.
Yeah. And another thing, like, and now we're into like the urban legend part of this.
Yeah.
Which it sets it up. So now we're dealing with urban legends, not just spirits and whatever the fuck, so you're on this weird journey.
Yeah. You're bouncing back and forth, but in a good way.
Yeah, that's the thing about this movie is I think with the most positive thing I can say is it feels refreshing at the way things are approached. Like first of all, it's almost procedural when James is investigating things.
Yeah. But like we've said, every scene is different, and that's very true. Like, you don't know what direction it's going to take. So in this scene, it's an urban legend. Right.
And I could make comparisons to this movie to The Wicker Man, which is a folk horror movie.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite folk horror movies. But in that movie, a detective goes to the island to investigate a missing girl.
Yeah.
And you get this whole thing where he's going through, and at the end, it turns out not well for him. He gets burnt as a sacrifice for the crops at the end in the big Wicker Man statue. It feels kind of like this too. Maybe he was pulling from the Wicker Man a little bit, but like, I think that's as soon as this stuff was happening, because there's other things that we didn't really cover, like when he's in her bedroom, he sees the Pontifex Institute stuff. And he's finding little clues here and there.
Yeah.
But like, I as soon as that stuff started happening, I was like, oh, this is a different movie. Like, this is not the pee pee poo poo man.
Right.
I'm not about to get an urban legend movie. I'm not going to get a teen slasher or the weird, what those Bye Bye Man movies and shit do. They put a lot, it's like an adult slasher. And so you're immediately bored.
Right.
So like, and I was like, this is not what it's delivering. And so once that hits you, you're kind of like, okay, what's next then?
Yes.
And so then you'd get drawn deeper and deeper into the mystery of it all.
Yeah. It's definitely a mystery too.
Yeah.
So Devara says that they did this 2 nights ago with Amanda and their friends. Then we see them on the bridge like 2 nights ago, whatever.
Yeah.
The friends and all this stuff. And Amanda tells them the tale of the empty man and says on the first night you hear him, the second night he follows you, and the third night he finds you. And then it shows the kids all blowing into this bottle, and then Amanda chanting the empty man over and over again, and then they hear something.
Parts of this movie that are extremely terrifying, like they're very scary to me, are the parts where like the camera focuses and it feels like you should be seeing something.
Yeah.
Like when I think it's during these scenes when James is talking to Devara, she looks out the window and it's like she is seeing something and the camera focuses like we're supposed to be seeing something, but we don't.
But we don't see anything.
Yeah. Which is that is very fucking terrifying to me.
Yeah. She even like laughs about, like, not laughs, but like nervously laughs, I guess I should say, about something. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
We're missing something.
Yeah, it is a mindfuck of a movie, sort of, because like,
oh yeah,
you start getting this like paranoia feel, especially right around this point. The paranoia sets in with you.
Oh yeah, it is very paranoid.
Yeah. And now James is played by James Badge Dale. Yes, his first name is James too. I don't know if you've seen him in anything, but he's been in like Scorsese's The Departed, World War Z, and Iron Man 3. And he played Simon, I believe was the name of the character in the 1990 film remake of Lord of the Flies. He was very young in that movie.
Okay.
I love those Lord of the Flies movie. I like the classic one and I like the remake. The remake gets a little scary. I think they go a little bit more terrifying with that one. But those are, Lord of the Flies. I think Lord of the Flies made the ban book list here lately.
Oh, really?
Where everybody's banning books all of a sudden.
Ugh, that's dumb.
It's weird. I guess we went back to the Nazi Germany. We're just banning books.
Anyway.
but like here he plays, like I said, it's kind of a noir detective type character. He's grizzled, he's hardened, tortured, almost. You know
what's funny is we had a lot to say about this guy. About this actor.
We did. He does it. Now, I have not seen him play a lead. Right. Maybe he does. I know he's done a lot of television and stuff, so maybe he does in those. I don't watch a lot of television. But he is fucking like... almost
mesmerizing to watch.
Yeah, his performance is so like... mesmerizing, I guess, is a good word. I'm at a loss of words for it, but
when he's on the screen, you want to know what he's doing.
He's very good to watch. Yeah, man. Like the way he plays this character as he's us. Yeah, he's our avatar through this thing,
right?
And a literal avatar at the very end of the movie. We're getting to that, but like. I just absolutely loved his performance here.
Yeah.
And I think it's so fucking criminal that this movie was so snubbed.
Yeah, to these actors and stuff too.
Yeah, because and that's a thing. You bring up the actors and stuff. Everybody wants to be here. Everybody gives a shit in this movie. No one's asleep.
Right.
That's what's great. I think that's what also sells this movie.
The acting is amazing, and I feel like it's a disservice that this couldn't be out there more.
Yeah, because when we talk about cult movies, you go, what pops into your mind? Like The Evil Dead, or just some old 80s slasher and stuff like that. Movies that make it to cult status,
right?
But this movie shouldn't have been that. Like, it feels so much more well done than fucking any of those movies.
Oh yeah.
Not shaming any of the old past cult movies that I fucking love, but they're not. It's not a B movie,
right?
This
was like box office sellout kind of movie.
This to me, and you may disagree, this to me is just as good as Hereditary.
Oh, I liked that movie too.
Yeah, see what I mean? Like, this is just as good.
Yeah.
And if you go back and listen to our episode on Hereditary, we had just as much good conversation as we're having here.
Yeah. So James goes to see Amanda's friend Brandon, and his dad said that he isn't home, even though you can hear someone crying in the back, which I thought was Brandon, but I think it's maybe his mom.
Yeah.
Then the dad just like shuts the door on him. Then James goes to talk to Lisa. Nobody is home. Then he calls Nora and says that Amanda's friends are kind of off and seem kind of weird because none of them have been seen except Devara. But he did go into Lisa's house. Mm-hmm. Who just goes into somebody's house? Like, I get it, the door is unlocked, but bro, you're just going through their house?
He's a detective. He's got to unravel the mystery here, which also...
But he is not there on official business.
Right. And as you're going through this, your normal watching, like when you watch a normal movie, like parts can be plot holes that you're seeing that you're like, what the fuck? Like, but it all fucking just fits together at the end.
Yeah. It all comes together because he's seeing things about this. He finds flyers for the Pontifex College or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the Institute.
The Institute. That's what I was looking for. So James goes to the bridge and he finds the bottle that Amanda and her friends had, and he blows into it. And I'm like, that's not going to work. It's daylight.
Yeah, the boogermen come out at night.
Well, Devara said you have to do it at night. Oh, Amanda.
Right. It has to be dark, which kind of comes at the Pontifex Institute. I don't know why it has to be dark. But
because the boogeyman comes out at night.
The boogermans, yeah. the poo-poo pee-pee man. He arrives at dark.
So then... he goes, there's like this manhole cover thing that takes you under the bridge.
Right.
And he goes under there and he finds all of Amanda's friends hanging.
This was a fucking it's not it doesn't shock you, but this is fucking disturbing for some reason.
Yeah.
Just these kids fucking hanging under a bridge, like they all hung themselves at once or
There's
something.
like 4 of them under there.
It's fucking spooky.
And then you see a note on the bridge, like the cement part of the bridge, that says, "Empty man made me do it."
Which, and immediately, you know, if you watch that trailer and assume this was just a teen slasher, well, your teens just got offed in one go.
Right. So what the fuck happened?
Yeah. Which I could imagine, you know, you watch that trailer, think you're going to see it, because a lot of the critics who actually did get to see this movie, they had a lot of bad things to say.
Oh.
Yeah, that it was boring, and you know, I really do think
boring?
Yeah, I didn't find it boring. Did you find any of this up in there? Like right now, up until this point, we found a bunch of kids hanging, which is really disturbing. It's not even that gory, but it's just disturbing to me for some reason,
disturbing.
especially how quiet it is.
Oh my God, this movie is so quiet.
That's a thing. You know, there's a score here and it picks up here and there when it needs to. But like here, it's just dead silence and you're just, ugh. Like
you don't hear water running. You don't hear cars. Nothing
in the normal scare scene, you know, we would have had a build up music. Like when he got down there, it would have been like, you know, when he sees the dead bodies. But none of that.
No. It's so still. Which not boring.
No,
that's not what I meant. The sound is still.
No, it's definitely not boring.
I always want to know what's happening next.
Right.
Like, what are you going to find out?
That's what makes for a good mystery.
Oh yeah,
it's more along the lines of like a David Lynch kind of movie, or you know, a mystery film or something, or a thriller. I guess not even that thriller. You know, the thriller happened at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. So Devar is at some spa thing, and she's in the sauna. The empty man attacks her and makes it look like she killed herself by stabbing her in the eye. Like, not even in the eye, like in the cheek a bunch of times.
That shit was fucked.
Because he's like stabbing her, and then all of a sudden she's stabbing herself. Whew.
Yeah, because I mean, do you really get do you get to see anything here? Like the empty man himself, like
just a cloaked
that's the thing you see thing. like that's what makes it even creepier, because
you can only see it for a second. Like,
yeah, you never get a good shot of this thing. Like earlier in the movie you kind of see it in the snow, you know, when she looks out there and sees something
and he attacks her.
But
or
like
chases her, I mean,
but it's always like well, it's an entity, you know, it's always not quite visible to you,
right?
Even though it is, it's hard to describe unless you've seen this movie.
But it's more than that. It's more than just this cloaked monster, and we'll get into that more.
Yeah, because you get a feeling that this thing isn't just some kind of urban legend, you know, which I feel like this movie kind of pokes at urban legends a little bit.
Yeah,
like there's some satire in this movie. I think, especially with tropes, like, you know, saying Candyman over and over again in a mirror.
Yeah.
You know, there is definitely like a little bit of satire there, I think. I don't know if you picked up on that.
So we were talking about how this relates to other movies, and I got a big Candyman vibe from this.
I think that's another reason why I like this movie, is because you can tell David Pryor really appreciates a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like he really appreciates these classic horror movies.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You got the cabin.
Yeah. There's so many feelings in this movie.
Yeah.
And there's even like, you know, I mentioned The Wicker Man. There's even a real cult thing later on in the movie when they're all dancing around the fire. That shit's fucking scary.
Oh, yeah. So James goes to talk to the detective, and James doesn't think that this was a suicide. He's like, she did not do this. Mm-hmm. Then he talks about a woman. Oh, no, the detective talks about a woman that fed her baby to a pack of stray dogs because it was whispering to her. Something was whispering to her. Yeah. And, I'm sorry, the baby was whispering to her. And the empty man thing was written at that scene also. The empty man made me do it. What the fuck? This is affecting way more people than we expect.
Well, that's what I mean by like the scope of this film feels bigger than it is.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, while we're here, it is kind of claustrophobic with James and stuff. But like you just get a sense that there's so much more going on.
Yes.
than what James is involved in.
Yes.
And then you find out, he's much more epic in scope than fucking we knew.
Right.
Which it's a complete mindfuck. And that's what it goes to. Most of the not problems that you had, with the metaphors and stuff like that going into the end.
Right.
Which, like you said, it all fits together once you get there. But I feel like that's like it has to be that way to make it more interesting. Because even, we get the stereotypical explanation of what this thing is when she's on the bridge with her friends,
Right.
That's just the stereotypical scene you get in any horror movie like this, where like somebody breaks down what this is.
Yeah, we gotta explain it.
Yeah, if you think about the bye-bye man, he's gonna come for you and shit like that. You get that gratuitous scene and stuff in this, but like at the same time, it has to be left ambiguous for you.
Right, because then you're not going to have a movie.
Yeah, no one ever fleshes out really what this is until the very end of the film.
Right. Because then you're not going to have a movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And when I say that, like, keep in mind that, like, these other movies that I'm poking fun at, like the Bye-Bye Man and Slender Man and shit like that, you get all the legend at the very beginning of the movie, and then you just deal with spooky scenes going on.
Right.
And you don't get that here.
Which I like. I appreciate it. Yeah. So James starts looking into the Pontifex Institute because some of the kids have info on it, like I said before. He finds out that it is a cult that has beliefs originated from places like Bhutan. Mm-hmm. And when he's looking at this, he's using Wikipedia.
Man, this is the best fucking movie search scene I've ever seen. Like it's so fucking good, because what bothers me in movies, I don't know if this bothers you, but whenever they're doing a web search, it's always like rocket search or fucking whatever fucking made up bullshit.
Yeah, they just make something.
And they always fuck it up because it looks like it's from like 98 or something every time they're doing like a search engine. But here, like, it's literal Wikipedia.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe it is real.
Yeah, it is. They just couldn't use the Wikipedia logo.
Right.
Because
but I wonder if there's like a wiki page on it.
There might be, because what he starts learning about tulpas, I believe, here, doesn't he?
I don't know for sure.
That might be later.
I don't know for sure, but
yeah, because tulpas come into factor into this movie a lot.
Yeah.
That's where the metaphysical stuff and the real like magic kind of comes in, like right. the spooky shit. Like tulpas, which you get a whole definition of what the fuck that is at the very end and stuff like that. You learn what that is as you're going. I mean, he even looks it up right in front of you. But like a tulpa is something that you will into existence.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, that's like a major point of James at the very end of the movie. Yeah.
But you were like, we get a definition. I'm like, no, we don't. Okay, no, that makes sense.
But I was so excited because the way they shape this and the way they treat like tulpas and like magical kind of thinking and stuff like dark magic and shit like that is it's in line with how it's supposed to be. Like they did their fucking research here.
Right.
Which is, like a tulpa is something you will into existence. Like, they say some magical thought, magical principle and stuff like that is like, if you think of something and you get enough people to think about it at the same time and to think about it enough, you can will it into existence.
Right. Which is
kind of, if you subscribe to this, is kind of what they say, like maybe Bigfoot is.
Oh,
like maybe Bigfoot is like a tulpa where enough people have gotten together and willed it into existence. Mm-hmm. And we've just done that through magical thought.
Oh,
like I said, that
makes sense.
Yeah. That's another thing. This movie, man, it's deeper than what you think you're going to get.
It makes you think. Yes.
Yeah. I think one of the guys, which I never say this because it feels so pompous to me, but somebody made a good point where they said it's kind of a thinking man's horror movie.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not going to go into this and get scares like you would probably any of the other movies that we review this month. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different beast.
Right. So Nora interrupts him while he's doing his research, and she is going to stay the night. James ends up getting drunk and starts having nightmares. And he's having nightmares about his wife and kid's death.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go into that a little bit later when they explain it a little bit more, but they don't come out and say what happened. You just know that they're dead.
Right. And so another thing that this movie kind of feels like it satirizes, and maybe I'm wrong with thinking this, I might be completely wrong, but tell me if this is kind of how you felt, but like it satirizes the amount of grief that is in horror movies now. Like, I mentioned Hereditary. Grief plays such a big, heavy part in that fucking movie. I feel like this movie takes that shit and shits on it at the very end of the film.
Like, fuck your grief.
Yeah, fuck that. That's not even what this is. That's made up.
Right.
Like, it's just like, whoa, that's fucked up.
Yes. Oh, I do agree. When you say it like that, yeah.
Yeah, because you see this and you're thinking, oh, this is going to come into the story. This is going to factor heavy in later. His grief, he's going to have to overcome it somehow or something like that. No.
Right. So James, in the middle of all this, he hears the empty man whisper to him.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, James goes and attends a class taught by cult leader Arthur Parsons.
Which Arthur Parsons is played by Stephen Root. Have you seen much with Stephen Root in it? He's been in so much. I failed to see where you might not have seen him in something.
have. I really have to think about what it is. Hold on.
While you're thinking, he plays so many characters. Like he can play anything. He voiced Bill on King of the Hill.
Really?
Yeah, he voices several characters on King of the Hill. But like he's been in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? He's been in so much shit, and he's such a joy to watch, because every character he plays is so completely different than the last.
Dodgeball.
Yeah, he was in Dodge. That's right. He was in Dodgeball, wasn't he?
I was like, I know I've seen him in a funny role before.
See, that's what I mean. He plays funny. He can play dramatic. And in this film, he can play fucking scary.
Yeah.
This fucking cult leader is exactly what you imagine a cult leader to be.
Yes.
He is such a he's charismatic. He's to the point. But he speaks a lot in metaphors, which was something that you were like, what the fuck? I love that. I love that because I was kind of laughing at you, but I also wanted to kind of challenge you with some of my questions because like Brittany stopped dead and was like, what the fuck is he? How do I even fucking factor that into our episode? What do I say about this? And I'm like, well, I was like, what you're feeling, what you're feeling is right.
Yeah.
You should be lost.
Because everybody else
Yeah, because everybody else is.
Anyway, so while Parsons is talking, he references the empty man. After the class conference, whatever the fuck this is, James goes to talk to Parsons and he asks what it means, like what the empty man means. And Parsons says that it's a meditation, a focal point. James isn't really getting the answers that he wants. Because Parsons is just talking in these metaphors.
Right. What I love is he even like he even looks at James and is like, it's good to have you back here. And he's like, what are you talking about?
He's like, I've never been here.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, it must be something about you. It's like, and when you find out at the end of the movie who James is, like it is like he's almost it's a joy to him to fucking be fucking like with this guy,
right?
And be fucking which. Man, there's when you learn the revelation at the end of this fucking movie, there's so much of this that you start thinking about and you're like, Jesus.
It's so fucked up in a good way, but like fucked up. Ooh, they really fucked with this dude.
Which he's not even, spoilers, he's not even a dude.
I know.
Yeah, he's not even like real. He, which is another thing where just fucks with you. At the end. You're like, whoa.
You're like, I empathize with this person. Like,
but should I?
Right?
Yeah.
So James then goes and explores the building, and he sees some weird ass shit. There's men staring at a poster, just a black poster.
Mm-hmm. I took that as they're basically training. To pull things into existence.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that till later.
It all fits together at the end.
Then he sees these people chanting in a circle.
Brittany.
Oh my God.
Okay, when I first saw this movie, I didn't find this very like humorous with the bottles.
But they pull out these bottles and just blow into.
And Brittany just dies laughing, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is funny! Like, this is kind of funny."
It's supposed to be serious, but like, really?
Because it's supposed to be an unnerving scene. And honestly, is James really that unnerved either? He's just kind of like, "What the fuck?"
Yes. What? Okay, they couldn't have whistles. Like in the beginning, Paul has this.
Yeah. We should probably touch on that. Like the empty man is like he's summoned by the sound of the whistle.
Yeah.
At the very summoned. This fucks with you. But I guess a way to summon him and stuff is through, he finds like an old tribal kind of whistle kind of thing, an ancient kind of thing. And I guess the bottle simulates that through the rest of the movie.
Right. But really, like, you guys couldn't chip in for some fucking whistles for like 5 people.
I was like, did they have to order all these bottles in bulk? We're going to need more bottles, you guys.
These old ass Coke bottles.
Yeah, they look like old Coke bottles, which is good.
Anyway, it was hilarious to me. Well, he ends up getting kicked out, but finds one of the members, his name is Garrett, in the alley. Right when James gets to this conference, he sees Garrett and he said, "Have you seen this girl?" And he's like, "No, I've never seen her before." Uh-huh. And I forgot to include that. But anyway, he gets kicked out, and in the alley, he sees Garrett, and Garrett says that he did see Amanda there before. And he says that she's not there now, that she's downstate to get pre-released for whatever. He doesn't go into explanation on that. But he tells James that these people are dangerous and that the camp is in the forest. Cabin. The cabin is in the forest.
Yeah, which I love because when he encounters this guy, he starts talking like he's like, "These cats, man, those cats." And the whole time you're like, "Why is he talking?" And even James points it out, which I love because he's like, "Aren't you a little young for that?"
Yes. Oh, this character is weird to me.
He's a weird dude. Well, you find out he's a member later. More involved in this than he lets
than
on.
what you think. Yeah, because he's like giving away secrets and stuff. So you're like, how involved is he?
The way he's talking, it feels like something out of a 40s movie, a 40s noir movie. Where he's like, "These cats, man, they're in some other stuff, man." These cats. And I could not help but feel like this is David Pryor poking fun at his own like fucking noir kind of mystery he's setting out.
I think so. And that's good. We need to have
another thing, I keep saying this, like this is poking fun or satire here and there. Like it doesn't mean that this movie is self-aware.
Right.
It's not one of those annoying self-aware scripts or screenplays, like we covered when we did Scream and Urban Legend and stuff like that.
It's very subtle.
No, yeah.
So James goes to the cabin and no one is there. So he starts going through files, Yeah. He just goes through people's shit. Like he just owns the fucking place. But why is nobody there?
Well,
we know why nobody's there in a little bit. But
you realize all this was they were just allowed him to do it.
Right. Oh.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, it makes more sense.
Yeah, but at this moment you don't.
Right.
And it does feel way easy for him to be doing
way
this.
too easy.
Yeah.
Well, he finds files for Amanda, all of her friends, Paul from the beginning, and even himself.
Yeah.
And he also finds these weird tapes where they have like these people getting exercised or some shit.
I think this is Paul.
Oh, really?
I think so. I don't know. There's a lot of fuck with you shit. But like these tapes show like someone who's obviously like possessed by something.
Right.
And you get the feeling like this could be Paul. Maybe this is somebody else, Mm-hmm. They do mention like, okay, again, spoilers. We're not there yet, but I'll go ahead and lay it out. Like it feels like, like Amanda says at the end of the movie, it took him 500 years to get this. Like, so it probably wasn't somebody else. So I was thinking it was Paul that they're showing.
No, she said, I remember now.
Okay.
I'm piecing this together now. She says at the end that they tried to do it with somebody else, but they couldn't do it because he was not vulnerable enough.
Yeah, because, and we talked about at the beginning, you know, Paul has those cuts and stuff, so he's vulnerable.
Right.
You know, it takes a big amount of grief to allow the presence into you.
Right.
Which makes sense of why, you know, spoilers, they implanted the grief within James losing his son and wife.
Yeah.
But like,
sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
We're putting all these pieces together right
Again,
here live on the podcast.
It's just a big old puzzle, man. It's such a good movie. But like, I love this video. It's fucking spooky. And
so spooky.
And it really comes to nothing. But like, did you notice there's a teddy bear on the ground behind him?
I did not notice the teddy bear.
And then like he looks back and the teddy bear's fucking gone. And I was like, that teddy bear is gone. But again, the movie, there's so many subtle little fucking scary moments, for loss of a better word. But like there's no build up on the score for that. You know, like that hints at something spooky's happening. It's just something like if you didn't catch it, you kind of miss it.
Right. And it doesn't.
It comes to nothing. It really doesn't factor into anything. It's just there to kind of fuck with your head.
Yes. A lot of this movie is just to fuck with your head.
Yeah, which I think that's why I liked it, because it does feel like it's challenging you.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not a hard watch. That's another thing. You know, a lot of these movies that do that really set out to really challenge you and really give you something to bite into, they tend to be kind of hard to watch.
Yeah.
The Empty Man I could watch again.
Yeah.
Like I said, I watched it 3 times before we did this episode. And so like, it's such a neat movie to do that.
Yeah.
You know, because off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of something else that does this. It really fucks with you. Like Memento. It's not something you could watch in the same week multiple times. I know you haven't seen Memento, but it's the same kind of thing. It kind of fucks with your head. It's a Christopher Nolan movie. But like, it fucks with your head, but it's not something you can digest a bunch of times. You know, maybe once a year viewing and stuff like that. The Empty Man is so not condensed. I don't want to say that. But
there's so many pieces to it. You're looking at different. I'm sure you would look at a different thing every time that you watch it.
Yeah.
And you understand it a little bit better and put those pieces together a little bit better every time that you watch it.
Right. And I have read reviews where somebody has said, you know, I hated it the first time I watched it, but then I went back and watched it again and things made more sense and I was really intrigued more and stuff like that.
Yeah. So James finds all these members having a fire ritual of some kind.
Holy shit.
They're like chanting and then this fire like goes into the sky.
It's fucking scary.
It's almost like the best way I know how to describe it's like an upside down tornado, but it's fire.
Yeah, it swirls into the sky and stuff. It's a big bonfire thing to start with, and they're all running around chanting around it, which again, you know, the cult angle and stuff like that of this movie, that shit's spooky. You don't need to do much, and they don't. No. You know, they don't do much with these cult members other than have them be cult members, which is scary as fuck. Yeah. I don't know if anybody else, maybe you too, but cult members scare the shit out of me. People who are so invested in something where they'll put their lives on the line for it scare the ever-loving bejesus out of me. That's kind of why that's kind of why I'm scared of Nazis banning books here lately and fucking Proud Boys and shit like that. As much as I make fun of them, they are a scary thing that we have in our society and stuff. Because
there's no limit.
Yeah, I think that's why some Christians scare me.
Yeah.
You know, to the fact where they put their morality and their fucking human decency to the side just for a god.
Yeah.
You know? And that's kind of what they're doing here. Mm-hmm. You know, you could say them summoning, again, spoiler, them summoning James up. That's kind of fucked up. That's not okay.
None of this is okay.
No, none of this is okay. So like
they start chasing him.
Oh man.
He starts running and he finally gets to his car. And of course, in every classic horror movie, the car's not going to start the first time you try to fucking start it.
I swear to God, this is like a new car. Like,
Right.
come on, David Pryor. You could just start the car and have the same effect. I didn't. Yeah. This was a little cheesy, but then again, like just the little bits of satire that I picked up on this movie, I wonder if that's just a joke.
It might be.
Yeah, because this movie, like I said, it sounds like it's Dullsville, but it's not. There is some humor to it, especially with James, the way he treats things. Yes. Like when he sees them, because this is fucking scary, because he steps back when he sees them like looking towards his direction. He steps back. Yeah. They step forward with him. They're in line with him and stuff. And then when he starts, he's like, yeah, fuck no. He takes off running. That shit's funny,
Whew, it's spooky. Ooh.
It gets under your skin. Like,
well, when you got 100 people fucking running at you, like, that's
and like I said, this is comparable to some of the Ari Aster stuff, A24 with like Hereditary and Midsommar. You take Midsommar, it's a horror movie, but it's a horror movie in a different kind of light. It's cult horror to where it's not outright scary, but it has the ability to get right under your fucking skin.
And as we're talking about it, it's really under my skin.
It's spooky.
Still. Yeah,
this is a scary movie.
Yeah. So James takes the files that he found to the detective. The detective is pissed because he thinks that James has messed up their investigation now.
Yeah.
Then James goes to talk to Nora and tells her about the cult. And he thinks that they killed the kids and they're going to kill her. So he wants to protect her, so he takes her and drops her off at a hotel. Uh-huh. They talk about that, how they had an affair and were together the night that his wife and son died.
Right.
So I'm not sure if it's in this part that we see. Maybe it's a little bit later on. I don't know. This is where bridges come into play again.
Right.
Is because his wife and son were driving in a snowstorm, I think. And they slid off of a bridge.
Right.
And they died.
Yeah.
But he was having an affair with Nora when this happened.
Which at the end, all this grief and guilt and shit, that gets thrown right in your face.
Oh, yeah.
When you find out these are all supplanted memories. Yeah. All right. That shit. Okay. So one thing I'd like to point out that I find kind of scary is the fact that like willpower could conjure something, the fact that like what if I just thought of a fucking boogerman or something out of nowhere, I thought of like the poo pee pee man,
right.
What if me saying that and just 1,000 people listening to me and start thinking about the poo poo pee pee man, or what if that literally summons a poo poo pee pee man that comes to kill me? That's frightening.
Yeah.
And what if you could supplant memories into whatever the poo-poo pee-pee man is? You could have him be whatever you want him to be by willpower, just sheer willpower.
And the thing is, like, there's a big thing in this too, and is that people can do this. People can plant things in your brain that were never fucking there, and they weren't fucking real. And they can fucking plant the shit in your brain.
So we know that can happen. So could you? No, I'm a skeptic.
Do I think that there would be like a pee-pee poo-poo man? No. But do I think that you can manipulate somebody into believing that there was one? Yes.
What a lame tulpa we could all fucking form together. The poo-poo pee-pee man.
Is that your new mascot? Are you the poo poo pee pee man?
I'm the poo poo pee pee man. What would he even do? Like, it's just like, what the fuck?
Shit on people?
Dude, something smells. Whoa, the poo poo pee pee man strikes again.
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
I love how we go to fucking.
My whole point
how I had this whole deep conversation about fucking tulpas and like willpower and magic thought, and like it revolved around a character called the Poo Poo Pee Pee Man
that you made up.
That I made up.
But that's my whole point. It was like you can manipulate people into thinking that this is real.
Yeah, so like, I'm shutting off my skeptic. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm shutting the skeptic part of my brain off. But what if, since you can do that, right?
Yeah.
What if you could will something into existence?
Now, I don't know if it's like gonna make it come true.
Right. No. Like I said, turn your skeptic off for just a second. You gotta turn your skeptic brain
But
off
that's
for a second.
spooky to me.
It is spooky. It's a lot spookier, like when you think about like, what if these urban legends and stuff, the ones that seem like they happened and stuff, what if they did and we've all willed it to be? Yeah, you see the magic thought and stuff. It's just that shit that's kind of freaky. You know? It makes you think of like, man, I really shouldn't fuck with shit. Like just in case.
Yeah. Yeah, don't fuck with shit.
Yeah, there you go. Don't fuck with shit.
So James goes home to sleep and he keeps having these dreams and he wakes up. It just starts punching himself in the fucking face.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Again, you're supposed to get lost, so I guess.
Right. So then he thinks he sees the empty man chasing him, but when he grabs his baseball bat, he's gone.
That's fucking scary. This is pretty fucking freaky. You know?
Yeah. By the way, this happens at 3 a.m. And so I had to come in. I had to have my 4-year-old come in. I'm like, okay, what happens? Oh, did I take a video? Hold on just a second.
What happens at 3 a.m.?
Oh, yes, I did. Hold on.
Okay.
What's 3 a.m.?
The devil's hour.
The devil's hour.
We've corrupted our child.
Yes.
We have corrupted our child, you guys. But isn't that adorable when like little kids say something evil? That's so fucking the devil's hour. It put the lotion on his skin or it gets a hose again.
Oh
you know,
God.
like that shit's cute.
It's the devil's hour. Then I went on, but I didn't videotape it or whatever. But videotape. Oh God. I was like, "What do we do at 3 a.m.?" And he's looking at me crazy, and he was like, "That's when the bad guys come out." I was like, "I know, but what are we doing when that happens? Sleeping? Yeah, we're sleeping. We sleep at 3 a.m. Okay,
Yeah, we sleep through that."
Right. Anyway, so the doorbell rings, and when James opens it, there's the teddy bear from the cabin, like you had talked about, on the porch, and he just picks it up. What? I don't want it. I don't want your possessed fucking teddy bear.
Can we not? Like, because then he just goes back to sleep in a little bit. I'm just like, wait a second.
How do you go back to sleep?
How do you go back to sleep after this?
Oh, I need a lot of weed. No, because then I'd be paranoid.
Nah, man. You know, that begs. I wonder if you're like being haunted by an entity if you just fucked yourself up with some weed and like just got really fucking wasted. Like, you think that would fuck up the whole entity's fucking plan? You know, like if you're in a haunting and you just got super fucking drunk, like and just passed out, like what would the ghosts do? Like, what? Well, I don't know. I'm gonna possess him, and then he gets in there. He's like, "Oh God, I'm fucked up. Oh fuck, this guy's so fucking drunk. I thought he was asleep." You know, like would it fuck up everything? I feel like that's what I would do if I found myself in a haunted house. Just get fucking blackout drunk.
Or maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't fuck everything up. Maybe it would feed into that paranoia.
You think that the ghosts would start drawing dicks on your face because they got nothing else to do? And that's what the poo-poo pee-pee man does. He comes in your room and draws a dick on your face. The poo-poo pee-pee man strikes again. And away we go.
I might just have to quit this podcast.
Will it, everybody? Will the poo-poo pee-pee man into existence?
Please don't. And if you draw a dick on my face...
Now Brittany's concerned I'm going to draw a dick on her face and blame the poo-poo pee-pee man.
I'm not touching your dick. For a very long time.
Oh, fuck.
So be warned, okay?
Oh, man. We got to have a whole episode on magical thought and principles and shit.
Anyway.
Anyway.
So the next day, James starts following Garrett from the alley. And he follows him to a hospital where cult members are worshiping a man that looks like he's in a coma.
Yeah.
Which he is in a coma. I don't know why I said that.
Which, by the way, this ends up being Paul. And I should mention, because I don't think we mentioned it. This is 2018. This is taking place. Did you mention that it was like 95?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
say that.
I'm sorry. I missed it.
So you don't listen to anything I say.
It was the Poo Poo Pee Pee Man. Brittany almost quit. Brittany almost threw the microphone and fucking quit.
I didn't almost throw the microphone. I hit the microphone whenever I was rubbing my head.
She had the face palm. That was an audible face palm you guys just heard.
And they accidentally hit the microphone when I did it because I had my eyes closed the whole time. Because I rolled my eyes so far in the back of my head, it hurt.
Oh, man.
Anyway, when Garrett comes outside, James kidnaps him and asks him who that guy was.
Uh-huh.
Garrett says that he's an antenna tuned into frequencies that they only get through him. Garrett tells James that he's coming down with him, the empty man.
Yeah.
Well, James just leaves him in the middle of like this alley with in his handcuffed, handcuffed, his hands behind his back. He just fucking leaves him there.
Yeah, and what a psycho thing to do, because James also hits him with the butt of the gun in the face, and his dude just fucking laughing.
Yeah,
man, now that's
Why is that creepy to me? He hits him a couple of times. Yeah, he hits him a couple of times because he won't tell him where Amanda is. And
that's what I've always told people. If someone like starts hitting you and you know you can't win, just start laughing. It'll freak them the fuck out, man. That's a freaky thing. Like, I just busted you in the face. Why are you laughing?
Right.
This guy's fucking scary. I'm out.
This guy's a psycho.
Oh, God.
So James goes to find more files, and he sees a file on the man that's in a coma, and it's Paul. We find out.
Yeah, which is kind of cool, because up until this point, you're thinking that prologue, you're like, wow, they dedicated 20 minutes to just nothing. Like, what does this have to do with anything besides the empty man came from there?
But Paul's there.
Yeah, which makes a lot more sense of how this thing got over here.
Yeah.
You know.
And then, like we had talked about, this being broader than what we had expected is like, we thought that, well, I don't know about you, but I thought that somehow Paul had brought this back to this town wherever we're at, and it was just kind of centralized to this.
Yeah, I kind of thought like maybe somebody had heard the story of what happened to Paul and them, and maybe that just traveled around.
Right.
You know, I thought maybe, game of telephone, and that's why it's bottles now instead of a whistle. You know.
Right.
But no, it's much more.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot better than that.
Right. You know? It's way broader than that.
Yeah, that's another thing. I keep saying this movie. Well, I didn't keep saying it, but this movie surprised me with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
is like when you think you have it figured out, it does something completely better than what you had imagined.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
you underestimate every turn this movie makes.
Yes. So James then finds the file on him, and he's very confused why they have all of this stuff on him, because they have pictures of his son, his wife, then they have pictures of him.
Right.
And he's just sitting in this chair, and he's naked with this like light shining down on him in this empty room.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? I don't remember that.
Which from this moment, everything starts feeling more like a dream. I don't know if you noticed that. Like everything starts feeling more and more dreamlike, which that factors into the ending and what you find out about James.
Yeah. Oh, so weird. So weird.
Like I said, unnerving.
Yes. There you go. Unnerving. So James goes back to the hospital and he asks a nurse about Paul. She says that he isn't on life support because he's stable.
Yeah, which even their interaction, and even you said, you were like, this interaction is creeping me the fuck out because it's not normal. Like
this nurse is not normal.
Yeah, we're saying it like it's a normal interaction between two people, but it's not.
Okay, first of all, there's just nobody else in the hospital except for him and the nurse.
Uh-huh.
Like, well, around this nurse's station.
Yeah, it's real empty. Yeah.
And even at night, if you've ever been to a hospital.
Yeah, there's more people than this.
There's a lot more people. There's a lot more hustle and bustle. It's loud.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Because this is the ICU, right? Yeah. So
like, no, they're not just going to have one fucking nurse.
Right.
And she's creepy as fuck. okay, when she starts talking about this, like her head's kind of tilted and she's almost excited to be talking about
Yeah,
this.
because like at first you're kind of like, well, maybe she's just interested. She didn't think about it until now, but now she's interested in who this guy is and stuff like that. But it starts feeling like you said, she's more just excited because she knows who James is.
Right.
And that's where, like, you know, I said, like, it starts feeling more dreamlike.
Mm-hmm.
The whole movie kind of feels kind of like you're having a nightmare. But here especially, it's just like, it literally looks like what you picture like when you're dreaming and having a nightmare and you're interacting with someone in your nightmare.
There's not a lot of other people around.
Yeah, there's nobody around. It's just them two, and the person he's talking to is so stilted and weird.
Yeah. Oh, so the nurse says that this man has had issues for 23 years, been in and out of different hospitals and stuff, and then he ended up there at least more than a year ago. Basically, they're there just to monitor him, and they don't know his name.
Which is weird. You know, even James brings that up, like, why would you do that in the ICU? Why would they keep him here?
Right.
You know?
Why wouldn't they just put him like in an old folks home or something like
Yeah.
that? And then she says something about how he has a bunch of visitors in and out, and there's a visitor in there right now.
Right.
So James goes to look, and it's Amanda that's in there with him. Amanda starts talking to James, and she says that Paul transmits and they receive, and his message is contagious. By the way, nobody knows his name. We know his name from the beginning of the movie, but nobody knows his name.
Which this sets up more about where the graphic novel went, where like the Empty Man's more of a virus.
Yes, he's contagious.
In the graphic novel and stuff like that. And people start, it's weird. The graphic novel is very interesting because this feels like a prequel to that. In all honesty, that's what this feels like. Because in the Empty Man graphic novel, you're kind of just plunged into what has happened after and how everything is just, people are being taken out by this entity and stuff like a virus and stuff. And people and other people are working to try to control it. It's a wonderful piece of sci-fi, really.
Ooh, I have a good theory on this, and we'll talk about it at the end on my thoughts.
Okay. You know how I love that. So,
yes.
Well, yeah.
So James tries to call Nora to tell her that he found Amanda, but she doesn't know who he is.
This part weirded me out because the fact that like nobody knows who he is at the end here, like how did they achieve that? Like,
what do you mean?
Was his interactions through the first part of the movie, was that real?
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I guess not.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't know who he is.
Ooh. Like,
while I was watching it, I was like, oh, Amanda wiped her memory. And then I was like, wait, when you said that.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I just think his stuff wasn't real.
Right.
Ooh. That's interesting.
Right.
So then Amanda tells him that they need to find a replacement because Paul's body can't hold up anymore. Because they had I'm going to call them an antenna.
Yeah.
For 500 years. Then that antenna got replaced with Paul.
Right.
But he is a human being, so his body is deteriorating because he's getting old.
The body can't take it too long.
Right. And then she says that they tried to put this antenna into somebody else, but that person didn't have enough trauma, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And so like, so basically what you learn, they can't wait another 500 fucking years.
Right.
To get their Empty Man, you know.
Right.
To get this thing going.
So they're trying to find somebody.
Yeah.
So then she says that James can feel the Empty Man creeping in and his brain has an itch. Uh-huh. Like the Empty Man's breaking his brain itch or whatever. And then she starts asking him all these questions and says that they made him 3 days ago and made a complete biography about him to make him their Empty Man. She says that he is not in control because he is their man and he needs to just let it go and accept it.
Which is fucking scary because, like, then you learn that he's a tulpa. They've willed him into however they want, which is...
Whew, a lot of narcissists would love this. Sorry. That's creepy as fuck, man.
It really is. Like I said, like it's just the fact that you find out that James is just this fucking thing that's created really fucks with you. And I read a lot of reviews, not a lot, a few reviews where people were a little lost at this ending. And I didn't understand. I feel like this is a movie you need to pay attention to.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I'm not saying these people are dumb who don't understand this ending, but I understood it. Like, and you being the casual movie watcher of this podcast, you know what I mean? You got it. I feel like, yeah.
It took me a second to realize, but like,
yeah,
I didn't have to watch it all over again to understand.
No. But I would say, like, if you're a little lost to this ending, maybe take another viewing. You know, I think it all clears it up.
It never hurts to take another viewing. Yeah. So James is now seeing this alternate reality thing, and then he is chased by the empty man, and then the empty man possesses him.
This felt a lot like a H.P. Lovecraft type creation here. Like when you see the empty man, he's not quite like what you're expecting. Like I was expecting, because he sees that thing that Paul sees at the beginning of the film at first, and then that thing comes out, which the CGI is a little etchy.
I don't know, because I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, there's a strobe effect, and Brittany has epilepsy, and so that didn't work with her. But
usually on those scenes, I'm like, hey, what happened in this scene? Because I can't watch
it. When you first kind of see this thing coming out, it doesn't look too good. So when that strobe hits, it's kind of like, oh, thank God. Because you don't have to see too much of it,
right?
Which is pretty good. But you know, that aside, just the way the thing is shapeless. Like I would say this thing, like at first kind of looks like a cloaked figure and stuff, but then it like morphs into other things, and there's like tentacles and fucking stuff is opening up, and he's seeing eyes, and it's just like,
ooh.
It is a shapeless mass of creature. And that's what I mean. Like it feels like an H.P. Lovecraft kind of story where like this thing is from a completely different maybe not universe, but like a whole
realm.
Yeah, a different realm.
Yeah.
Or like maybe this thing is like an old god or something. You know what I mean? Like that's how it feels when you see this thing at the end.
Whew.
And I appreciated that because like, what are we going to do? We're going to just get the empty man, you know, just a man, a big old skinny dude coming at you. Because I think that's what you would expect from this movie. But you don't get that. You get something that feels older. You know, it's just really fucking unnerving.
Very, very. So then James goes to see his house, which is actually not his house.
Yeah.
And we see all of his memories of the affair and the crash that I talked about. And then James goes back to the hospital with a gun, and he shoots the fuck out of
Paul's fucking face off. I took this as him just like ending his life, and then the empty man's all in him. You know, it's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But like the fact where they replay all his memories here at the end. That's what I meant by like it throws all that grief and that guilt and shit that you thought was going to be a major turning point in the movie or something, where this character might have to overcome his guilt and his grief to solve the crime or something like that. It completely just chews that and throws it up at you.
Right.
Like this is not fucking real. This is a whole different. Yeah, it's
not real. They made it all up to have some kind of backstory for him to make him vulnerable.
Yeah.
To take in the empty man.
Yeah, because it wasn't good enough to where they just created a guy to be possessed by the empty man, because they willed James into being. But if they just willed a guy into being, like, that's not good enough, because as we can see with Paul's deteriorating and stuff like that. So with a tulpa, you know, the empty man can probably live in James forever.
Right.
You know, but also for him to inhabit somebody, he has to have grief and pain and trauma and stuff like that. He has to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so that's why they created these memories and shit. It is a mind fuck, man. Like it gets you here.
This is crazy. So then after he shoots James, he walks out of this room, and all this, like, the doctors and nurses turn and look at him. They drop to their knees all at the same time. Creepy as fuck. and then they start bowing to him.
Yeah, which again, like I just you take it, the scope of this thing just feels so massive,
enormous,
especially here at the end when they all bow to him and stuff like that. And that's what I mean. Like if you do read that graphic novel, which I encourage our listeners to really go seek that out if they're interested, if this piques your interest, this feels like just a prequel to that. It feels like that's what it's leading up to, which is kind of sad to me because that means like. If this was successful, I think we would have got some very interesting sequels to this.
Yeah.
Each very different, too.
Yes.
You know, like
yes.
the sequel to this would have been different. It would have felt like more of a sci-fi movie.
That's
you
true.
Know, living in a post-apocalyptic kind of era and stuff like that. You know, the fucking, when you sit down and think about where this could have went, is where I start getting depressed because I'm like, well, now I want more.
Right.
You know, because this was so good.
Exactly.
Oh, and time will tell, you know, shit, I might be 50. We might get a Empty Man sequel. You know, we get that with a lot of these cult movies. We've gotten sequels here lately.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some good, some bad, but you know, we do get, it happens. So maybe. Now, I don't have to really go into how big of a bomb this was at the box office. You know, I kind of alluded to that. And as I said at the top of the episode, a lot of it wasn't its fault. You know,
right.
The film was dropped during a time when its audience couldn't get to the theater to see it, you know, and the marketing, Jesus Christ. This movie cost $16 million to make and it made $4.2 million.
Oh, wow.
It is a failure.
Yeah.
Box office wise, finance wise. And the marketing, just to tell you how fucking shat on this was and how that Disney merger and just the studios did not give a fuck about this movie. Mm-hmm. The marketing on social media. Now, when a movie is coming out, you know, social media marketing is huge now. You get all the ads and all that and stuff on Twitter. You get those fucking things where you can like it and it'll tell you when the movie's out and shit like that. This movie, the marketing on social media, it started about like a week before the movie came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Usually that shit starts like at least a month out, you know? So it's just, they didn't care about this. You know, the studio did not care about this.
Sad.
Yeah. On the plus side, aside from the studio really wanting him to cut that prologue down, which I'm glad he didn't. That prologue is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
I would not trim that at all. Mm-mm. But, you know, Pryor didn't have a lot of studio interference here, which is kind of nice, you know, because he did get to make the movie he wanted to make.
Nice.
He has said to him, it's more of a rough cut.
Really?
And I just read that in an interview, and it's a little blurb, and I wonder if there's more to this that he wanted to include but didn't get to. Because I think they used $11 million to film. Like it technically costs $11 million and on, you know, $16 million with marketing and stuff.
Right.
But like, I got to tell you, I never heard of this movie.
Really?
Until 2021 when I saw it on, I think it was on Hulu when I saw it and I was like, well, I'll give it a try.
I'll try this. Yeah.
It was literally just a blind watch. I had not read anything about it. I hadn't seen any trailers. I hadn't seen shit about this fucking movie. And then when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, why is no one talking about this?
Right. Oh, man. Okay, so my theory. I'm going to go into my theory.
Yeah, you had a theory.
Okay. Maybe this didn't do good after critics watched this because they watched it during 2021, right?
Right.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. You talked about this being a virus and this being contagious.
Oh,
and
they even talk about the contagion.
Yeah, and we keep talking about it being broader than what? This is really scary because
this kind of fits in with the COVID
That's
pandemic.
what I'm saying.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying is it came from a foreign country, got brought back here to America.
Holy shit.
And you think it's just this little community of people. And then you realize, no, it is grown bigger and bigger and bigger. Like there's a whole bunch of fucking people.
That is an interesting take.
Yeah.
Like
when you were explaining it, I was like, oh shit, that's not good.
This brings up a good point.
This is probably why this didn't do good.
Yeah, you have such a good point there. I like that. That makes this movie even more genius, though. And I feel like watching it if everybody had gotten to go out and see it, I think it would have related even better. I think it would have done so much better.
Right.
You know, and thinking that this was done in 2017 before we even knew what COVID was.
Right.
So, like, they didn't even do that on purpose.
Right.
It's just
right.
kind of, you know?
It just kind of fit in there. Ooh.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Are we living in a meta universe?
Oh, maybe. But what's really cool about that, when you say that, it does kind of make the Empty Man feel also like a pandemic, but with an entity, like with this tulpa and with this fucking spirit or whatever you want to call the Empty Man.
Yeah.
A force.
That's what it definitely is, a pandemic.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. I like that theory. You know,
ooh, some of the things that run through my brain.
No, yeah, it's good shit. It's good shit. Now everybody will the pee pee poo poo man. No, I'm joking.
No.
But you know what's really exciting about this, though? What's really exciting about this movie is now, like, it is getting talked about. It is getting the attention it does. It's starting to get a following and stuff like that. And it's on its way to being a new cult film. You know, we don't get that very often. We don't get films that turn out to be a cult movie this fast, you know. And, you know, David Pryor said he stays off of social media mostly. He doesn't tweet or anything like that, but he did get on Letterboxd, and he was noticing the good reviews that people are posting and like the stars and stuff like that. And he said it's you know, he thinks himself pretty grateful of that.
Yeah.
Guillermo del Toro reached out to him.
Oh yeah.
You know Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Which, by the way, you guys go see Nightmare Alley. The remake he just did, that was fucking fantastic. Great remake. But Guillermo del Toro reached out to him and said, you know, because the same way, he hadn't heard of it. Mm-hmm. And then he got to see it. And he said, like, he was like, I swear, he was like, knowing what this movie got, how put down upon it was, like, he was like, I got to make it like a fucking, my fucking life's work not to make that happen to a movie like this again.
Right.
Because it's so fucking, there's an injustice here.
I think it deserves another theatrical release.
Yeah, I would go see it.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. This is good shit.
You know, honestly, I would too, to see it on a big screen.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, like in the IMAX.
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh, that would be gorgeous.
Yeah. And so, like, and I believe David Pryor is now working with Guillermo del Toro on a horror anthology now. So, you know, he's doing fine. You know, Pryor's doing just fine. He said, you know, he could bitch and whine about how bad his movie was treated. But he said, you know, I look back, I got the chance to direct a big studio film like this. Mm-hmm. And he said, and even though it didn't get seen at first, and even though it was treated badly and stuff like that, now it's getting a following. It has a following now, which is something a little different when you think about like big studio horror movies. You know, they don't tend to get such a big following.
Right.
Yeah. Like you're thinking back on The Haunting with Liam Neeson. Public opinion has dropped on that movie, but like these movies normally don't get this kind of status, I believe. And so just the fact that, like, I bet you in like 5 to 10 years, this movie is going to be fucking treated like one of these other movies, you know, that I pay $40 to get on Blu-ray, you know, that I'm like, why did I pay $40 for the fancy cardboard? But I look forward to, and I find it fucking a huge injustice that this does not have its own like special edition Blu-ray,
right? Or
special DVD, anything. Just what the fuck,
man? I don't know. It's sad.
Yeah, because it was such a bomb that, like, you know, I'm sure Disney, who owns 20th Century Fox, or it's called 20th Century now, I'm sure they just see it. It wouldn't be viable to even fucking do that, because you're talking about a company that owns Marvel and has all these other IPs and stuff. The Empty Man is the last thing on their fucking mind to put out. But I really do hope that something happens. Maybe Guillermo del Toro will fucking convince him that we get like a big fucking Blu-ray release, because
That'd be really
I
cool.
think this fucking movie deserves it.
Oh yeah.
But enough about what I think about the movie. Let's get your opinion on 2020's 2020, even though 2017 and no one saw it till 2021, but because it was released on VOD in 2021.
Right.
But anyway, what's your thoughts on 2020's The Empty Man?
I really liked it. I liked the mystery, and like I said, I wanted to know what happened next. And I like movies like that intrigue me enough to want to know what happens next. And now I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
Maybe not tonight because we talked about it.
Right. It grows on you.
Yeah.
You know, for first time you sit down and watch it, you're like, wow, this is surprisingly good. Well, that was a good movie. And then you start thinking about it and you're like, wow, that was different.
Yeah.
Man, that was so different.
And definitely watch it with somebody else and have a discussion about it.
Yeah, and for you guys who are huge horror buffs and stuff like I am, you know, you look at this movie and you can sit there and you can pick out little influences throughout it. And that's fun too.
Yeah.
So it is, like I said, hopefully one day we get a Blu-ray release for The Empty Man. But that's enough Empty Man for this week. I hope you guys really, you know, the point about doing this movie is really I really want people to go see it. You know,
right.
This is one of those movies where I do it just because I think people need to watch this movie because of how good it is.
Right.
But anyway, that's enough of The Empty Man. Next week, oh man.
Oh,
we got more mans.
More mans.
More mans, but a good one. A good one. And one that I think has been derided a little too much. We are talking about 2021's Nia DaCosta directed, Jordan Peele written Candyman. 2021's Candyman, man.
I'm excited.
Not a remake. Not a remake, motherfuckers. Everybody keeps calling this a remake. They're like, the worst remake ever. And I got blocked on Facebook because I was like, well, that's good because it wasn't a remake. It's a sequel. This is a sequel. It's a sequel to the original Tony Todd Candyman. And I can't wait to talk about this because I just feel like it gets a little too much hate.
Really?
I feel like it does. But also, I feel like it kind of came out, people kind of saw it, and then they forgot about it. And so I'm really excited to talk about this with you, especially since you've seen the first Candyman. So
right, I'm excited.
Yeah, so a lot of this will make sense. But anyway, until next week, when we look in the mirror and say it 5 times. I still can't say it 5 times in the mirror. I don't know. You know, if Tony Todd literally popped out, I think I'd be so happy. But maybe I'll go try that. Anyway, you know, be sure to will the pee-pee poo-poo man into existence, you guys.
No, don't.
Draw him, you know, think about him tonight when you're going to bed. Smoke a big hog's leg and think about the pee-pee poo-poo man. And maybe he'll draw a dick on your face. But until next week, I'm Leigh Evans saying stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. To get a hold of us and submit your stories, fan mail, and death threats, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and nightofthehorrorfile.com. Our theme song was written and performed by John Brennan, used with permission. Find John at shopjb.bandcamp.com and at badtechno.com. If you like what you hear, leave a good review wherever you listen to podcasts and share the show on your social media. See you next week.